A lesbian woman dreamed of a happy life with her girlfriend but feared family rejection until someone encouraged her to follow her truth. They said I had the perfect life. Good grades, a scholarship to NYU, even a part-time job that didn't make me hate myself. But if they ever saw the way my mother's smile vanished when she saw the word pride on TV, they'd understand I was living in a cage that looked like a gift box. My name is Erica Jones. I'm 22 years old, gay, and a coward. At least that's what I used to believe. Started when I met Layla, the kind of girl who didn't walk into a room, she owned it. We were both working at a bookstore in Brooklyn, and the first time I saw her, she was climbing a ladder to shelve Toni Morrison's Beloved like it was a sacred act. She looked down at me and smiled like she already knew my secrets. I remember thinking, she's dangerous. And then, God, I want to be brave enough to talk to her. Layla was out. Completely, proudly, recklessly out. She painted tiny rainbows on her nails, wore Doc Martens with flower patches, and once told a customer to educate themselves when they scoffed at the LGBTQ plus table. I loved her for it. I envied her for it. And when she asked me if I wanted to grab coffee after our shift, I nearly choked. From the moment we sat down in that cramped cafe with mismatched mugs and Nina Simone playing softly in the background, I knew I was screwed. Not because she was beautiful though she was, but because she saw right through me. When I told her I wasn't out to my family, she didn't flinch. I get it, she said, sipping her espresso. That closet door can feel 10 inches thick and 1,000 pounds heavy. You don't have to kick it open. Just know it doesn't lock from the inside. God, I wanted to believe her. We started dating secretly. Little things. Walks after dark. Shared playlists. Long texts under bedsheets. Kisses in the stairwell of my dorm. She called me sunshine, even when I couldn't look myself in the mirror. And for a while, I was happy living in the shadows because at least I had her. But secrets rot love. And mine was starting to fester. Every time I went home for the weekend, I shrank. My mom would ask if I had a boyfriend yet, and I'd laugh it off, feeling like a traitor. My dad once made a joke about those people with their parades, and I laughed too loudly. My little brother told me he'd get so grossed out if two girls kissed in front of him, and I said nothing. Then, one night, Layla asked, "Do you ever see a future with me?" We were lying on my narrow bed, the ceiling fan creaking above us, her fingers tracing circles on my shoulder. I hesitated just for a second, but that second cracked her heart wide open. "You don't, do you?" she whispered. "It's not that," I said quickly, my throat dry.
Ido. I swear, Ido.
I can't picture it with my family in it. She sat up. "Then you're not picturing me, because I'm not going back in the closet for anyone, Erica. Not even for you." She left that night, not slamming the door, not yelling, just quietly, heartbreakingly, walking away. I didn't cry. Not that night. Not the next. I went to class. I worked. I smiled at customers. I told my mom I was fine. I even tried to text Layla once, just an emoji, but deleted it before I hit send. I kept thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be like her? Why can't I fight for the girl I love? Then, 3 days later, I found something. It was a note, folded between the pages of a book she had once recommended, Giovanni's Room. The handwriting was unmistakably hers. Love doesn't wait for permission. It waits for courage. And you already have it, Erica. You just don't believe it yet. I read it 5 times before my hands stopped shaking. That weekend, I went home again. Same driveway, same front door, same heavy air in the living room. But something inside me was different. It wasn't anger. It wasn't rebellion. It was clarity. At dinner, between meatloaf and mashed potatoes, I looked at my mom and dad and said it. "I'm gay." My mother blinked. My father's fork froze halfway to his mouth. My brother dropped his phone. Silence. Then Mom said, "No, you're not." "Yes, I am," I said softly. "And I'm in love. Her name is Layla. She makes me feel safe and seen and real. I know you might not understand, but I need you to hear me." My dad pushed his plate back. "You don't need to do this, Erica. This isn't who we raised you to be. You raised me to be honest, I said. And this is me finally being that. Mom's voice trembled. But what about God? What about family? I felt my heart breaking and mending at the same time. If your love for me depends on who I love, then it's not the kind of love I want anymore. I left that night. I didn't know if I'd ever be welcome back. But I knew one thing for sure: the girl who left that house wasn't a coward anymore. When I knocked on Layla's door at midnight, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. Then I pulled her into the kind of kiss that said everything I'd never dared to say. I see a future now, I whispered, and it has you in it, front and center. Her tears fell before her smile did. Then let's build it, sunshine. We did, are still building it. And no, it's not always easy. There are stairs. There are rude comments. There are days I still flinch when someone says, family. But there are also days when I catch Layla dancing in the kitchen, or when I wake up to her curled against me, and I know I made the right choice. Not the easy one. The real one. I used to think courage looked like shouting on a stage, waving a flag, marching in a protest. But sometimes, courage is quieter. It's the decision to stop lying even if your voice shakes, especially when it shakes. After that night, I didn't hear from my parents for 2 weeks. Layla was patient, but I could tell she was scared too. Scared I'd spiral back into the version of myself who apologized for existing. I almost did. The silence from home felt like a punishment, like they were waiting for me to crawl back, say I'd made a mistake, pretend it was a phase. But I didn't. Instead, I started doing something I never had the guts to do before. I told the truth. To my roommate, to my professor, to the older woman in the elevator who asked if I had a boyfriend. I said, no, but I have a girlfriend, and she's wonderful. I said it with a smile that surprised even me. Each time it got easier, like peeling off a mask I didn't even realize I was wearing. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted to stop shrinking. And slowly the world started to shift. My roommate, Kara, cried when I told her. I always wondered, she admitted, hugging me so tight I could barely breathe. But I wanted you to feel safe first. I'm proud of you. Even Professor Heller, who taught American Lit and never once smiled, stopped me after class one day. Heard you came out recently, she said. Takes guts. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But the biggest shift came from within. I was finally choosing myself. Layla noticed it too. You walk different now, she said one morning as we stood in line at our favorite food truck. Like you're not bracing for impact. I think I'm just tired of hiding, I said, pressing my shoulder to hers. And I finally believe I deserve better than fear. We held hands as we walked to the park. And for the first time, I didn't look around to see who was watching. It was a warm spring day, the kind where hope feels possible, even in a messy world. That's when my phone buzzed. Mom, come home this weekend. We need to talk. My heart jumped. Layla looked at me, concern flickering across her face. You don't have to go, she said gently. You owe them nothing. But I shook my head. I think I owe me a conversation. Saturday morning, I stood on the porch of my childhood home, hands sweating, knees trembling. My little brother opened the door. He looked older, somehow more tired. They've been fighting about you, he said. A lot. I stepped inside. My dad was in the living room, arms crossed. Mom was at the dining table, eyes red like she'd been crying for days. I sat down. I didn't say anything. Mom spoke first. We didn't handle it well, she began. You shocked us. Dad added, we just don't want you to be hurt. The world is hard enough already. Why make it harder? I stared at them. You think this is a choice? You think I wanted to spend years feeling like I was broken? You raised me to be honest, to be kind. But you also taught me to be ashamed of who I am. Silence. I didn't tell you to hurt you, I continued, voice trembling. I told you because I finally love myself enough to stop hiding. And I hoped you'd want to know the real me, not just the version you made up in your head. My mom sobbed, not loud, not dramatic, just heartbreakingly quiet. Then my dad did something I never expected. He knelt beside me, took my hand in his calloused one. His voice cracked. I don't understand it. I really don't. But I do know this: I love my daughter. And I don't want to lose her. I cried then, not just for what he said, but for every moment I thought I was unworthy of love. Mom joined us. We have a lot to learn, and we'll mess up, but we'll try. I didn't expect full acceptance overnight, but I got something even more valuable: a beginning. Back in the city, Layla met me at the subway station. The moment she saw my face, she knew. You went? She whispered, pulling me into her arms. And I came back. I whispered back. Whole. A few months later, I brought her home for dinner. My brother wore a rainbow pin. My mom made her famous lasagna and asked Layla questions about her photography. My dad didn't say much, but he poured her a glass of wine and didn't flinch when she held my hand. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that was enough. Years passed. Layla and I moved into a tiny apartment with a leaky sink and too many houseplants. We adopted a grumpy cat named June. We fought about dishes and cried over movies and danced barefoot in the kitchen. We loved loudly, fully, fiercely. And one night, on the rooftop where we'd first kissed, I knelt down and asked her to marry me. She said yes before I could finish the question. Our wedding wasn't traditional. It was a picnic in the park, barefoot vows under the trees, a live jazz band, and homemade cupcakes. My dad gave a speech that made everyone cry. My mom wore a pin that said, "Proud Mama." And as I looked out over our chosen family, friends, classmates, neighbors, I realized something. The life I used to dream about, I was living it, because I chose love, because I chose truth, because I chose me. You were never too much. You were just never in the room where people spoke your language. Find those people. Love out loud. The world might tell you to shrink, but every time you choose joy, you grow taller than fear ever thought possible. Being yourself might cost you some people, but hiding yourself will cost you everything. Choose you. If you find it interesting, please subscribe to follow the next stories.